I have to refresh my page. Hello, welcome to the Health In Show, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. You've come to the right place to tune in and participate with your comments and questions. Love is the greatest healer of all. But sometimes, in order to change our emotions, we must take action in other spheres of our lives. We speak with experts in alternative and complementary health fields and hope you will benefit in some small or great way. Remember, you are wherever your thoughts are. Make sure your thoughts are where you want to be. I'm here. Yeah. Let's go. We're on today. This is the show, The Health In, an affiliate program of Homeopathy World Community. It is March 3, 2014. We had a change in plans. We're sending out prayers to Dr. Dinesh Chauhan's family for good health and for everyone out there who needs prayers and blessings. I just opened a little book here. It says The Empty Chair. It's one of my favorite books, Finding Hope and Joy by Reb Nachman of Breslov. And I just randomly opened it, and it says, growing spiritually can be like a roller coaster ride. Take comfort in the knowledge that the way down is only preparation for the way up. And there we go. And you know that is the truth. And also, I give thanks to Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, who is the founder of homeopathy, and all those friends out there who are spreading the word. I have been pretty emphatic lately, leaving helpful, good comments with links on blogs that have been very negative and attacking, vitriolic about homeopathy. And I feel if every single homeopath out there, and there are, I don't know, thousands, millions, however many you are, if everybody just put one little line in there and said, I love homeopathy, or it works for me, or homeopathy heals, or any little thing, can you imagine the back, like a tsunami of love that we would have against the people who are fixed in their ways and skeptical? And so we're talking about flexibility today because I have to throw together this show in about an hour. So here we go. I do have a PowerPoint, and I put the link to that PowerPoint at the very front main page of Homeopathy World Community, where if you just click it, it'll open a PDF file. So we can begin. We also have, tuning in with us, Dr. Deepak Sharma. Oh, is he on visual? He is with us on voice, and from the Orbits Clinic in New Delhi, my cohort in teaching about homeopathy. Welcome.
Hello, Debbie, and hello, everyone. Today we are listening about the placebo effect of homeopathy. So just continue, Debbie.
Right, and we're kind of comparing today what's happened in the medical field and how things have gone topsy-turvy and what they have to look at about mind, body, spirit, and how homeopathy has always brought all of it together as one, and knowing that spirit is where everything flows from. So the first slide says, it's an old slide that's revised, so forget it. Well, why don't we use healing wounds? Healing wounds is everything, our mind, body, and spirit, wherever we've been hurt, and homeopathy does help that. A law speaks of a recurrent pattern that exists in nature. And that's what it's all about. It's about understanding patterns. It's about understanding nature. What is true science is the next slide. The reality of the relations of causality, of the principles of laws and the possibility of proving them by observation are the first condition of every true science. So, did you get that?
That's number 2.
Oh.
Closer look at homeopathy.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm in the wrong place. Hold on, folks. Let me go to number 2. My slides went crazy. Here it is. Let's take a closer look at homeopathy for healing. When science finds itself in crisis, open-minded physicians, researchers, and scientists can investigate a 200-year-old system of medicine that is based on laws of nature. And we are in a moment in time when the medical community is in crisis. They have all this information coming into them, and they don't know what to do with it because it doesn't make sense to them. They don't know how to figure out that people are responding beneficially to a sugar pill, to a placebo, to a treatment that's not supposed to be a treatment, that they're supposed to compare against a drug when they do clinical trials. And by the way, that's a whole nother story about clinical trials, because very often they don't give just water. They don't give just nothing. They compare it against something that is equally harmful. And that's not going to end up with a positive, actual, factual, scientific result. So let's go to the next one. Worldwide popularity for homeopathy grows as citizens seek non-toxic, individualized medicine. People who seek homeopathic treatment tend to be very well educated. Homeopathic medicine is leading alternative treatment used by physicians in Europe and growing numbers of citizens around the world. And I can tell you that when you get on these blogs, people are calling you names, calling you ignorant, stupid, and every other name in the book. And whatever you say, they invalidate. They say you don't know what you're talking about, which means that they're not accepting a person's word. Okay. And this can happen also when you go to your physician and you've been given a drug, and the physician says, well, it's supposed to work, and it didn't, so something's wrong with you. I've heard stories like that. So the beauty of homeopathy is that there is a relationship between the healer and the person needing healing. And that is a very intimate relationship where people, and if Dr. Shawan was here, he would talk about case witnessing, listening closely, observing, understanding, compassion, being with the patient so that we know what's going on and can very clearly understand what is needed to heal. On the next slide, that's number 4, let's learn about the placebo effect. And I threw in a quote here from Jose Marti. The first duty of a man is to think for himself. So we need to think outside the box. We need to be good observers, and whatever we find is true for us. It's our truth. And nobody can say anything against that. So you're going to see a lot of different definitions for the placebo effect. And I'm going to give you a few of them. And I also want to let you know out there that there's something called the nocebo effect, that if you keep telling yourself that this thing is going to do you harm, it actually will. And if you think about all the commercials that are out there where 2 seconds of it is, go ask your doctor for this, and then they show ladies and men jumping through fields of flowers or at the beach in the water playing, and then they're running a tagline that goes infinitely of all of the negative effects, you're going to end up taking that subconsciously in, and maybe you're going to end up with the nocebo effect. You're going to end up with something wrong. And that's another beautiful thing about homeopathy, and that is when we do provings of homeopathic remedies, it takes it holistically. It's not negating, it's not throwing something out and saying this is just a side effect. No, these are effects that we need to document and understand. This is the power of the drug. And that's why we know specifically how to select the appropriate remedy for the individual. The placebo effect on slide 4, a beneficial effect produced by a placebo drug or treatment that cannot be attributed to the properties of the placebo itself and must therefore be due to the patient's belief in that treatment. So basically what that's telling us is if you're giving a non-drug and the person is getting well, it must be because of what the person's belief is, what they're thinking, what they're telling themselves, their belief system. And I highly recommend that you go to yesterday's, I guess it was NPR show, all about placebos, because they gave a variety of examples of placebo or expectation and outcome, including music. And so, music is very soothing and healing. And they were talking about these patterns in music where you would know from the first chord what was going to be the second chord, what was going to be that following chord. And we've been indoctrinated, inculcated, trained to expect what's going to happen next. And what they said is the beauty of a lot of music is that it can be very stirring and emotional because they can change it up a little bit and not give you what you expect, give you something different, and then you get a different emotion to your system. And all of these things are energies, and these energies change our chemical makeup, our hormones, how we respond, our body's function. And so let's go to the next one. As I was saying earlier, when they do clinical trials in medicine, they use something called a control group to supposedly make it more scientific. That, okay, let's take a look at what the drug is going to do, and then let's compare it against what something that doesn't have the drug in it will do. And that seems reasonable, right? So it says the beneficial effect in a patient following a particular treatment that arises from the patient's expectations concerning the treatment rather than the treatment itself. And then another definition in medicine is a positive therapeutic effect claimed by a patient. So now you have to take the word of a patient. Is that anecdotal? What do you think about that? You have to record what the patient says is happening to them after receiving a placebo believed to be an active drug. And this is really fascinating because what's happening out there, not only just in the medical world, but in all fields of art and science, is that they're trying to understand what the human species is about. How are they able to function, be well, heal from doing art therapy, Reiki, manipulation, massage? You can go back to the shamans. And let me just go back and look at what I was looking at here. So what also is talking about a person's belief in an active drug, and that's what you're going to be able to scour the internet and find all of these trials where a person is told something of what it is, but it's not what they're told it is. But they respond beneficially to what they're told, or in a way that you have hypothesized they will respond. I'll give you an example. And you've seen tons of these little commercials. Which is better? And I could say squeezing the Charmin, or I could say wine. So they take a bottle and they put on the bottle a very high-priced $90 bottle, and they're told this is the high-priced brand. And they also have a $5, and they have a medium, 3 different varieties, and they have these people try each of the glasses. And what happens? They respond, oh, the bouquet is so beautiful, and it has the good mouth feel, and it's so delicious, to the $90 bottle. But, folks, all the bottles were the $5 bottle. And they're doing this about across the board with everything. And I'm going to take a quick look out here in the chat because I see there's a lot happening. Michelle, using the mind to heal loses a lot of revenue. Okay, and the medical, yeah, they're trying to deal with that. And I'm going to get to a really interesting point along this show about what they're going to do with the placebo. Dr. Bob, 2 drug pills. Oh, it keeps moving. Both are amoxicillin. One costs the patient $5 and the other costs the patient $200. Who gets better faster? The person who laid out the high price spread. And that is true. You think, and people, the industry, the marketing industry, asks you to buy things, not because you really need them, and I know because I was in that industry, but because they make it so that they make you feel like you want to need it. They say you need this thing. And that's how they sell products to you. Okay, I'm going to move along to Constantine Herring. He lived in 1800 to 1880, and he was the father of homeopathy in America. He said, for a series of facts and phenomena to be the object of a science, they must be united by real connections, submissive rules, principles, and fixed laws. The scientific mind invents neither facts nor their relations of causality any more than the laws and principles. Its mission consists in investigating, discovering them, and establishing them on a basis as solid as possible. That means taking the data and actually analyzing it. Not if something is off the charts, dismissing it. It doesn't fit in with what you want it to be, what you're expecting it to be, your hypothesis. You have to be flexible. He continues, repeated observations and experimentation, which is only observation applied to artificially produced relations of causality, establish the reality of these facts on the firm basis of experience. When the relations of causality are permanent and invariable, the existence of positive laws may be concluded from them. This means homeopathy is based on individual experience. We have to be, our words must be trusted, and we must be listened to. Thank you. He continues, and empirically found out facts, relations of causality have to their raison d'etre. They derive from more general laws and have their principles, Leading up to these principles, insofar as they can be positively established, is the highest mission of science. On the limit of these positive principles, experimental sciences stop. So, if you're proving or doing a clinical trial on a natural substance, a plant, mineral, animal, and you're collecting data, that is a principle of science. You are collecting the effects of the medicine, of the plant, the mineral, the animal, the drug. And by the way, they do have toxic effects. And Paracelsus has said something about that. He says, Herring says, when you stop, you limit the positive principles and adhering to the principles of science, then science stops. And unfortunately today, we have scientism, which is the religion of science. And that's a whole nother thing that, who is it? We have a book on that. I'm thinking of his name. If anybody wants to throw out Lionel, what's his last name? He wrote a book about that, and I really would love to have him on one day if he would peek out from under the covers and not be so shy about getting on a video. If we exceed that limit, Herring says, we enter the domestic domain of philosophy. And Samuel Hahnemann says, no philosophy is involved in science. You're not making these hypothetical, dreaming up things that are happening. The domain of primary and metaphysical causes. No scientific man should remain a stranger to this domain. Willingly or not, those limits are constantly exceeded as the search for principles is imposed upon the human mind by its very nature. Which he's saying is, we as humans want to know the reason why. We look for meaning and purpose. We have to understand. Without that, we are not living fully. What is true science? The reality of the relations of causality, of the principles of laws, and the possibility of proving them by observation. That's slide 11, are the first condition of every true science. Should I take a look at what's happening in the chat, or you want to take a look at that for me? Dr. Sharma, do you have,
Yes.
you want to jump in?
Yes, Devi, I am concentrating on the chat and I am replying the questions
You're replying
asked
to
by.
the questions in the chat?
Yes.
Gabrielle says, belief comes from promotion paid by the pharma industry. You know, the pharma industry, and I have some data on this, is all about the placebo effect. That's really what they're using. And they just don't tell you that. Slide number 12. Another and quite as necessary condition is the fixity of those laws. What makes the strength and superiority of homeopathic therapeutics is that it rests on precise, fixed laws, the laws and principles, besides our great law, the similia similibus curantur, likes cures likes, which forms the solid basis of the Hahnemannian doctrine. There exists a secondary one, little known, the law of cure, and that's Herring's law of cure, which tells us that we heal from the present time back in history, and you'll see that happening. Even the Chinese knew that in traditional Chinese medicine. You heal from the top down. You heal from preserving your vital organs, your heart, your liver, your kidneys, your brain. You preserve. It's the body's natural, innate survival skills to protect your vital organs and throw things out to the surface. Let them come out on the skin. So if you see rashes or acne, you can, with a flag, you can say, thank God, because my body's doing what it needs to do to save the functioning of important organs and tissues of the body. Slide 13, observations. Hahnemann says restore health and annihilate the whole, the entire disease, not suppress certain symptoms. So when you go to the drugstore and your doctor gives you an antihistamine, an antidepressant, an anti-whatever, anti is against, it's going to forcibly eliminate whatever's bothering you perhaps, but it's driving the illness deeper into the system and addressing one thing, not the whole being, not the totality. And on slide 14, he says, this discrimination is of capital importance upon which it behooves us to insist very specially, for people usually call cure the disappearance of certain symptoms or syndromes, external manifestations of disease such as constipation, eruptions, leukorrhea, piles, rashes, etc. And slide 15, the medical community is at war. They are at war. They're infighting within themselves. People are coming up with new conclusions, new data about the medical industry, about pharmaceutical drugs, and they are being tossed aside and denigrated. Their reputations are hurt. But then there's enough people, we're going to have this tipping point come where enough people are going to say something that they have to take a look at it. So we are looking at this study, meditation relieves some anxiety, depression beyond placebo. And this goes for all of the antidepressants, by the way. Not only do they have a huge list of side effects, including suicide, but just learning that they've done these clinical trials of meditation against antidepressants and realizing that taking 30 minutes out in your day, and I can imagine that if every school child started their day with 15-20 minutes of a quiet time meditation, what a beautiful day it would be. Pills have side effects and don't always work, says the medical community. But it turns out there's something that may be more effective with no downside, though it takes a bit of effort. Meditation, 30 minutes a day. So what it means is we are giving the responsibility to each and every person to heal. They are not just, you're sick and you just go to the doctor and say, give me a pill. I can still gorge myself. I can eat tons of sugar and soda pop. I can eat candy all day long or hydrogenated vegetable shortening and cookies and cake. No, you have to take it upon yourself to change your habits because it takes effort to heal. 16, meditation programs appear to have an effect above and beyond the placebo effect. This is Dr. Goyle, and it is on commonhealth.wbur.org. Meditation relieves symptoms of anxiety and depression beyond the placebo effect. Next slide is the NIH, National Institute of Health, spent $12.5 million in randomized clinical trials because 27 million Americans suffer from osteoarthritis of the knee and hip. And they know that a lot of people are taking this glucosamine chondroitin combination, right? Glucosamine, and they give it, I know that my daughter gives it to her pony for their, your bones and aching arthritis. And so glucosamine is an amino sugar that may help renew cartilage. And chondroitin sulfate is a complex carbohydrate that is thought to help cartilage retain water. So remember, these are hypotheses. They don't really know. Arthritis causes pain, swelling, and stiffness in joints and damages cartilage over time. What was the result of this $12.5 million study? The results: no significant difference in pain relief between the glucosamine chondroitin, a combination of the two, and placebo. What does that tell us? 1,583 people around the country were to take the glucosamine chondroitin, a combination of the two, an anti-inflammatory drug, so they tested it against an actual drug, or a placebo. Neither the participants nor the researchers knew what they were taking or giving, I would say, and that's a double-blind controlled study. I don't know what the placebo was, by the way. So, and also, depending on the color, shape, size of your placebo pill, will be how much high expectation you have for the outcome. And so if you're given a little white pill, you're not going to get the greatest result. But if you get a nice big red pill, a green pill, your results are going to be phenomenal. And you can just have nothing in it, I guess. Okay, slide 19. The results suggest that the information people have is as important as the effects of the drug in reducing pain. Even when a medication works, half of its impact on a patient may be due to one aspect of the placebo effect, the positive message that a doctor provides when prescribing the treatment according to that study. Expectations is everything. If you have a good relationship and trust your physician, you're going to have a better outcome. The placebo effect is centered on the idea that a person's expectations and beliefs drive changes in symptoms, even though they have received a sugar pill or a sham. They call it a sham treatment. Now, why do they do that? They already put a negative connotation on the placebo, which is really bogus and with no effect, knowing that they have received a placebo. Okay, here's another awesome, fascinating point of information. They say knowing that they have received a placebo changes their expectations, which is expected to alter the placebo effect. Now, this is really fascinating. Contradictory outcomes. People in the study also reported pain relief even when they knew the pill they were receiving was a placebo. compared with no treatment at all. Meaning you can tell the patient, here, this is your placebo. And it's going to work just as well as if you say, this is your drug. This finding, quote, contradicts the medical beliefs. And this is Dr. Kopchuk, and he is like the word in placebo, because in medicine, we think you have to think it's a real drug for placebo to work. But apparently the body has memories, and we talk about memory of water in homeopathy. We talk about memory of your cellular structure, or an embodied awareness which operates below the level of consciousness. So what's happening with placebos is not your conscious awareness. It is your subconscious or some other form. It's the relationship that you have with your physician, with your mom. Hey, Mom, I fell off my bicycle and I got a boo-boo, and you give me a kiss and I'm feeling better after I've been screaming bloody murder? Why? Because there is something going on in the energy between the people. And that can do more to heal. How do I start the show every single week? Love heals. Love does heal. And this is what we're going to be, our straight and narrow path to healing the world is going to be about that. Here we have an ethical dilemma on slide 22. Before 1970, doctors used to lie to their patients all the time. They knew that some hypochondriacs became noticeably better when the doctors gave them a sugar pill. Oh, boy. But then the doctors got a little bit antsy and they said, oh, this is unethical. We can't give it to them, and we better give them a drug, which is going to cause all these side effects. That's kind of frightening, is it not? Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
Was it ever done in reverse? I mean, here's a hypochondriac.
Here's a hypochondria.
And they go to the doctor, and the doctor say, you know what? There's nothing wrong with you. I'm going to give you a sugar pill. But they give him a real drug.
Oh, that's cute.
What happens in the mind of that person? I mean, they think that this is
right.
Nothing, and actually the drug is working and fixing them. Can that?
Yes, it can flip, and I think we have a little information about that.
Okay.
I think that the scientists have used, they discuss everything and they look at every possibility. So Ted Kopchuk says the placebo effect can be administered like a drug. Oh boy, okay. That's a new one on me, right? In different doses and achieve different results. So if you give a dose and say, here's your placebo, this is a, 100 milligram. This is a high 100 milligram placebo. You're going to get better really fast. I don't think we want to start you on a 5 milligram. And, he says the ritual of medicine. Hey, we're going back in time to the ancients, are we not, folks? From the act of taking a pill to whether the doctor stares thoughtfully into the distance while examining you is far more than a placebo. Okay, the ritual can be used to increase the effectiveness of modern drugs. And how many people light a candle, bring in the energy of the space, say a prayer? Rituals are really big in miasmic conditions of syphilitic. Dr. Sharma, can you tell us a little bit about people who have OCD and rituals?
Yes, definitely. Debbie, the people have the OCDs, and I have a comment on this. Basically, a psychologist, a psychotherapist is working with me in my hospital, and he once a day he told me that you are taking too much case taking, and you are asking everything with the patient, and then this gives the patient is a relief, the mental relief. So I replied that you are a psychotherapist, then how can I expert more than you? So why cannot you treat as a psychotherapist with a placebo? So
right.
I also
right, because homeopaths like yourself might give the homeopathic remedy, and then in between, as they're working toward cure, you give a placebo just to keep the person on the path of healing. And right?
Yes, definitely.
And so,
And
yeah.
and in the many patient of OCDs, there is nothing to relieve by the conventional medicine. They are just suppressing, they are just giving the sleeping pills and they relieve by the sleeping. But the symptoms are same when on which day
Right.
the patient is not taking the sleeping pill, he get the symptom on the next day. But
Exactly.
after using the homeopathy, patient is well for the years or maybe for the life. I treated many cases of OCDs in my life. They are very well, their aggressiveness is very low, and they are living a very normal life without any medicine now.
Wonderful. And I want to let you know that, folks, you can call into Computers 2K Voice to speak with us via Skype. Basically, what's the harm in starting rituals that make you feel better? Waking up with a meditation, waking up with yoga, waking up with stretching, waking up with lemon juice because you think you're telling yourself it's good for you. And maybe it really is. But as Dr. Sharma said to us, with using homeopathy, our aim is really to cure and to annihilate the symptoms that are inhibiting the well-functioning of the individual, whereas with using these drugs, we're suppressing the symptoms, and they may go away temporarily, but once you get off the drugs, that's why they want you hooked on high blood pressure or diabetes medicine or whatever it is for life. You have to take it, and this is their belief system. You have to take it to maintain the well-functioning of your body. And with a little bit more effort, there are people definitely that need medication, I suppose. And always on this show, this is educational, informational, entertainment. If you have a health problem, you need to see your physician or your homeopath. We're not telling you what to do. This is just a discussion. Okay. What does Dr. Nikhil Kambi, and he's going to be on our show upcoming in a couple of weeks. Did he say something in here? Acceptance and finding solutions, he said. Okay. What slide were we on? 24. Concerns about drug risks have led 28 state attorneys general to ask the Food and Drug Administration to reverse its approval of this drug, Zohydro. It's a long-acting narcotic painkiller before the medicine is even put on the market, because they say one dose of this drug can kill. So they're questioning what's going on in the medical arena. What is going on when they fast-track vaccines and drugs to market because they say these are life-saving drugs? And in essence, they find out over the long term, not over a couple of weeks or a couple of months, they find out how detrimental to health it can be. And we're talking about men, women, and children. Taking a closer look at the opioid painkillers, Vicodin and Percocet, and Dr. Hahnemann in the Organon of Medicine has spoken extensively about the use of opium. The risks for addiction and overdose from the potent opioids outweigh the benefits of pain relief. Some point to the risk for children. In particular, a single capsule of Zohydro could kill a kid. And that's what it says on the label. Is this safe? Is this effective? Is this allowable? And they bombard homeopathy and call it a killer when it has no side effects because they say it has nothing in it. Not only, number one, are they not taking into account that their pharma drugs are also using 50% the placebo effect, but that they are crude substances that can harm. Paracelsus founded the discipline of toxology way back in 1493. He said, "All things are poisons, for there is nothing without poisonous qualities. It is only the dose which makes a thing poison." And you have heard of people who have died overdosing on water, drinking too much water. Yes, it floods the system. Paracelsus was a Swiss-German Renaissance physician, botanist, alchemist, astrologer, and general occultist. And he gave us tremendous knowledge for medicine. If you take a look in your medicine cabinets today, and this is just a little chart showing camphor, some synthetic drugs, quinine, which has been used forever for malaria, theophylline for asthmatics, and a whole bunch of other things, and they tell you what the fatal dose is right there. And it says medicinal preparations potentially fatal to a 10-kilogram toddler. And so when they give you either a vaccine or a drug, they don't take into account necessarily your weight. And all of the clinical trials did not do a clinical trial for females, mostly, or children. So they're taking these drugs and they're giving it to people where they've never done a clinical trial. And we'll take a look at Tylenol, the next one. And this is just up in the news this past week. Acetaminophen, sold generically and under the brand name Tylenol, is a popular pain reliever for children. A single dose isn't usually a problem, but an overdose can cause liver failure and death. The drug is an ingredient in many over-the-counter remedies, so it's easy to lose track of how much a child is taking. And I have, you can go to the next slide. I have a huge amount of information on Homeopathy World Community dealing with taking Tylenol off of the market and its use and how much damage it does to the liver. And also a humongous list of all the medications that contain a form of this ingredient. Tylenol use in pregnant women increases risk of ADHD by 40% in a newborn child. So if you're pregnant and you are taking acetaminophen or Tylenol, this is the outcome they have found. Just scrolling through the past history of this drug will provide an indication of its toxicity. So if you do go on HWC and just plug in Tylenol, you're going to find it. Anybody else have a comment out there? Dr. Nikhil Campbell says, 50 to 70s was the time when communism, socialism was in vogue. Capitalism was just finding ground. Communism and socialism favored development of homeopathy, which is cheap alternatives to then costly allopathy. And you know what? I think history repeats itself because Hahnemann was having a difficult time in his day as well. And I think we're coming to a change in society, folks. I mean, with the internet, with every person being able to be their own physician in a way by looking up information, looking up drug labels and whether they want to take a risk with it, getting information about meditation and yoga and exercise and changing our food substance, gluten and GMO foods, and there's controversies left and right about everything. So when we talk about homeopathy, we're talking about everything in the world. We're talking about society and belief systems, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Nico. If you see anything else on the chat, let me know that you think needs to be spoken about. Obviously, the issue with pharma and their multi-trillion billion income is they don't want to have a loss in sales, and they need to keep that income coming for their stockholders. So unfortunately, humans are swayed by the bottom line, by I could say bribery in some way, even affiliations. And that's a whole nother story when we talk about how people in the big pharma moved into high positions in government and now are making the rules. Slide 30. Homeopathic medicines are made from plants, minerals, metals, salts, and animal products. They're usually diluted beyond Avogadro's number so that there is no change of toxicity. They are deep-acting, energetic medicines that are prepared systematically to reduce side effects and treat at the deepest level. And this is what Hahnemann found out for us, that he was disillusioned by the medical system of his day. People were being killed, basically, from mercury and bloodletting and other kinds of things. And I don't know that we're doing so much better today. Obviously, in emergency situations, you want to get as much care as you possibly can. And I've heard of stories of people being put into a coma and coming back out intentionally just so that their body can recover. There's a lot of things in medicine that are marvelous, marvels of science. But we also have to look critically at what we're doing. Similia similibus curentur, and that is likes cures likes. For example, drinking too much coffee can cause sleeplessness and agitation. So according to this principle, when made into a homeopathic remedy or medicine, it could be used to treat the people with the same symptoms. The law of similars, this concept is sometimes used in conventional medicine. For example, the stimulant Ritalin is used to treat patients with ADHD. Or small doses of allergens. How many people out there have had allergy sensitivity? For years they got their shot. Just as pollen is sometimes used to desensitize allergic patients. I'm going to probably skip over this part. The next slide is about cinchona, quinine. That was Samuel Hahnemann's first proving of cinchona, where he was a healthy individual, a physician who knew like 17 languages and translating medical documents from all over the world into German. And malaria was rampant, and he saw the outcome of these patients. So he took the quinine himself. And as he took the quinine, he started to have all of the symptoms that malaria patients have, just from, and quinine is used to treat malaria. So you could see likes cures likes. Next slide. Also, the drug pharma also uses this, like for a heart medication, they find that it grows hair. So all of a sudden they're giving it to people to grow hair, and yet they're not taking into consideration what it's doing to your heart. And this goes across the board for a lot of drugs. So homeopathic remedies, we have a list of every single thing it does, holistically, totality, on all parts of the body, in all systems of the body, in the mind and the emotions, in the dreams and the fears. And so the cinchona or the quinine can be used for more than simply malaria. And here Dr. Herring said, if a nerve has been injured or if the trouble has come after a severe fall on the back, he uses cinchona. The next one. The observant homeopath. In general, it may be said that the choice of the proper medicine often depends on the most minute circumstances. So we know as homeopaths we have to listen very, very closely, because one little thing can give us the clue to the homeopathic remedy that will resonate with the individual. Whether it's restlessness, whether it's, let's say you have a sore throat, and you would think you have a sore throat, you don't want to swallow anything, but it feels better swallowing. That's a good clue that you're going to need a particular remedy for that symptom. Anything going on in the chat here? Anybody want to call in? We only have 10 minutes. The mind-body connection. Every single page on the medical news, in the New York Times, in Los Angeles, in the Indian paper, everywhere, you're going to see all of these reports. people are doing research and coming up with this innovations that they say, wow, look what we found. And we've known all along, they're saying that there's a connection between itching and scratching that engages the brain areas involved not only in sensation, but also in the mental processes that help explain why we love to scratch. Motivation and reward, pleasure and craving, and even addiction. What an itch turns on, a scratch turns off, and scratching oneself does it better than being scratched by someone else. Isn't that fascinating? Dr. Deepak Sharma, do you have something to say about scratching? Because we have homeopathy started off with miasm for scratching and sulfur drugs.
Yes, definitely. When we are talking about the miasm and the stitching remedies, the homeopathy is many of the thinkers are that saying that homeopathy is a placebo science, but they are not understood the symptom alone. I also mentioned in the chat that Dr. Bob says 95% of allopathic drugs are based on the symptoms, but I am not agree with this, because the symptom is not a single line. It is not just about the sneezing. The symptom contains its modality, it's the associate symptom, and is the sensation. The sneezing, when the sneezing is occur, and what kind of sneezing is occur, in what frequency sneezing are occur. This is a complete symptom.
And
So
what triggers the sneezing? Like people who have a sun sneeze.
yes, basically what is the cause, what is the exactly sensation the patient is feeling, and what are the associated symptoms. Like associated symptoms are those symptoms, those are not related with the main symptom. Like when the patient is sneezing and his urine is pass out, so this is the associated symptom, and the allopathic medicine is working on the sneezing, and we are working on a whole symptom of the sneezing. That is the basic difference of the symptomatology we are treating.
Thank you. According to the World Health Organization, in a 2001 report, homeopathy is part of the national health system of many countries. It is the most widely practiced alternative form of medicine. The WHO has declared that homeopathy is the second most used medical system internationally. You're not going to be able to push it aside. You're not going to be able to get rid of it. Homeopathy is safe and gentle and a natural system of healing that works with your body to relieve symptoms, restore itself, and improve your overall health. On slide 39 is the one major difference with homeopathic medicine is that substances are used in ultra-high dilutions through the potentization or dynamization process. It makes them non-toxic. And I like to repeat some of these things over and over again so it kind of gets into your brain. People will say it's nothing, there's nothing in it, and they'll say it's diluted, so like it's a drop in the ocean, but it's not, because we see through observation its effects. Okay, let's keep going all the way to, you know what? Some of my slides that I had wanted to have are kind of missing, so that's okay. We're coming to the last 6 minutes of the show. Where are we up to here? 40. A potency is a preparation consisting of a substrate upon which a specific energy pattern has been imprinted through a process of dilution and succussion process, vigorous shaking. So that's a difference in just diluting. You're just not diluting the substance. And then there is tells you how you make the remedy, and there are, so you know what, a bunch of my slides that I wanted to show, we can get rid of that one, did not end up in my presentation. But right now, the medical community has an ethical dilemma, because now, like Dr. Kapuch, how do you say his name? He said that we're now going to be able to use placebo as a form of medicine, as a drug, because we can document and observe its effects. And each person is going to be different in the way that they will respond. One of the things that separates people is the example of drinking wine, the person who was susceptible to saying that this $90 cup of wine was so delicious and delightful compared to the $5 because they were taking in the information all about that. Whereas the person who was able, and it's not 100% across the board, everybody was deceived, but the person who only took in their internal sensations and didn't look at the wrapping, they were able to say they're all the same. So some people will be more susceptible to the placebo effect than others. And we're going to see a lot more about this topic. And what else do I want to tell you? 4 minutes left to the show. And I want to thank everybody who's been with us here. Just remember that you have the power through your mind to change a lot of the things that your body is doing. Your belief system is going to have an impact and effect. If you think good, if you look for the best in others, because everybody has a good spark of their soul energy in there, then you're going to also reflect the same in each person as yourself. We are mirrors to the world. We are mirrors to each other. I'm going to repeat again Dr. Herring's law of cure. He says the cure must proceed from the center to the circumference, from above downwards. I'm just reading this. From above downwards, from within outwards, from the more important organs to the lesser organs, from the head to the hands and feet. And so take note the next time you're not feeling well and go into a form of meditation and see what is happening in your body. See if something is coming up from the past that will make sense to you. Dr. Sharma, do you have something to add at the last minute?
Yes, I'm also writing on the chat today.
Okay.
Okay, and Dr. Bob says right now the MD's placebo is illegal unless you tell the patient that he or she is receiving placebo, courtesy of your local big pharma grade falls. But basically we are not writing the placebos right now, and scientists are saying that our medicine are placebo, but we are not understanding that this is a placebo.
Yes.
It's working, and it's again I'm saying it's a problem of the scientists who are not understanding science in homeopathy. It's not our problem. So we are writing the medicine with the name, with the doses, and when we are giving the placebo, we are always writing that we are giving the some kind of placebo, and just to wait and watch.
Maybe we should do a show in the future about blocks to cure, because the MDs are not getting full training about nutrition and diet and healthful methods. There are specialists, sleep specialists. There are specialists in all kinds of things that could be a block to cure. What about people who are sensitive to electromagnetic fields in their home? Of course, they might say it's woo-woo, but if people are telling you this, you need to listen and believe them, because they are getting an effect in one place and not another. Upcoming, okay, I want to just give you a couple of, this is slide number 44. The National Center for Homeopathy is a good place for information, and they also have a place on Facebook, National Center for Homeopathy, as well as Homeopathy World Community, Extraordinary Medicine, The Truth About Homeopathy, the Canadian Society of Homeopaths. More stuff that you can find. You can follow and share, tweet, Reddit, stumble upon. Anything that you can do to get that information out is awesome and very much appreciated. There's thousands of articles on Homeopathy World Community. On Facebook, we've got tons of good tidbits, and I Love Homeopathy is also a great one to watch. Twitter, you can follow me. I have not been really keeping up with the other Twitter accounts. We have this show Monday at 11 each week, and coming up next week is, I think I might have her book in my, okay, that's March 10th, Jackie. Where's her book? Here it is. Jackie Griffin Sinnott is the author. You can do this. You can look at me. Rhymes for Remedies. It's adorable book to learn about your basic remedies at home that you might want to have a emergency kit. And it's basically poems. She gives instructions on how to use. It's poems that you can read to your kids so you can start early. And then all of the keynotes and emotional, mental symptoms, uses for the remedy, and background information and general symptoms. It's going to be really fun to speak with her. Following that, March 24th will be 3 people on the show. Morning yet, Amnon. It's going to be a full show. Dr. Lirio, these are 3 people from Brazil. Professor Regina Rianelli and Dr. Nick Hill, who's on our chat today. Thank you so much. So you get an idea. Why don't you call in, Dr. Nick Hill, so that you can see how it works? And we're going to be talking about epilepsy and convulsion, especially in children and young adults, and with some study cases. That's going to be fascinating. On Wednesday at 6 p.m., Alan Phillips will be on the Blog Talk Radio show talking about vaccinations and your rights. We have changed up that show so that I am only on the last Wednesday of each month talking for an hour, and he's on the other weeks of the month. And it's always good to learn about the legalities. Do you happen to know what Marilyn's show is going to be about? Coming up in 1 hour, Marilyn Shannon on the Breaking Free show. And I did not check my Facebook about that.
It's always good.
It's always good. Let me see if I can find her. Hey, is anybody on Google Plus? I'm starting that and trying to get that. She has at 1 p.m. the Spanish painter Eloy Morales. It looks fun. It looks like his face is all gooped up with red paint. And if you like art, it's going to be a blast. Amnon, did you learn anything today?
A lot.
A lot. The power of...
I always do.
The power of love, the power of people, the power of communion with each other. And I want to thank everybody out there. Lots of love, waves of awareness, and keep up the good work. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dr. Sharma.
Thank you.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. Our weekly lineup of call-in programs includes Computers 2K Now with Amnon Nissan, Health In with Debbie Bruck, Breaking Free with Marilyn Shannon, Lessons of Vietnam with NCVVI members, The Tanya Love Show, Reawaken Your Brilliance with Julie Seibert, and if you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it at www.nissancommunications.com. Sponsored by Atomus.com, makers of quality video recorders and converters for professionals. That VidBlasterGuy.com, CarolinaApparel.com, and DeltaForce.net.